On this week's episode, CES meets the home arcade. Can 1917 reach the top of the box office? And is it time to train more Pokemon? All this and more as we reach our next stop, the PCC Multiverse. And we're back with another episode of the PCC Multiverse. This is Gerald Glasser from Pop Culture Cosmos, Game Source, The Lakers Fast Break, and Inside Sports Fantasy Football. Thank you so much for listening to all of our great shows. But it wouldn't be a PCC Multiverse without my good friend. He is just Josh today of Pop Culture Cosmos. You got to check out everything that he's doing today at popculturecosmos.wordpress.com. His show, Topicocalypse, that he does everywhere you can get your podcasts. And of course, his awesome book, Congratulations, You Suck, which you can get everywhere you get your books. It is my good friend, Josh Peterson. What's up, man?
Just Josh, just trying to hang in there before the night's over, hitting my bedtime here.
I know, but stay up just a little bit longer because we got a lot of great things to talk about at this time around on the PCC Multiverse. It was CES week, my friend. A lot of things to see and do. Just it gets bigger and better every single year. I will say that it almost brought a tear to my eye when I saw so much devoted to gaming. And I've told you before the stories about how I used to go in the past, and there was enough devotion to gaming to maybe, encircle a small dinner table as far as the number of booths per se back in the past, because CES has at times completely ignored the gaming marketplace. Well, times have changed, and it's come down to the point where you go to the South Hall, and a great portion of it, in fact, right there as you enter the South Hall, right there hits you right in the head with a number of gaming and gaming-related companies, people that are interested in retro, VR, whole plethora of different companies out there pitching their wares in the gaming marketplace. And it was just beautiful to see after so many years of being pushed to the side, pushed to the back, in this great marketplace that was out there at CES, both at the Las Vegas Convention Center and the Sands. It was nice to see gaming take a big step forward in the eyes of consumer electronics. And I tell you what, it was nice to see. And there was so much to see out there. Of course, we're always a step behind as regular consumers because what they show off there, in a lot of occasions, you won't see until later this year or maybe next year or the year after. I mean, they're already up to 8K. It's a standard pretty much all the way around with everything that they were showing off there as far as from a video format. So we're just barely getting into 4K here. And when it comes to what you're seeing as far as on the audio end, everything's Bluetooth, everything's wireless, everything's 5.0. And you'll be hearing a lot of those interviews coming up here over the next few weeks because I got a number of interviews at CES this week that I'm going to go ahead and play on our upcoming shows. In fact, I've got not one, not two, but three scheduled today on the home arcade market. I've got My Arcade, Arcade 1-Up, and also Arcade joining us later in the program. So a lot of great interviews that are coming up here very shortly. Looking forward to sharing that with our audience out there. But it was a great time. It's at CES, very crowded, of course. There's when you're talking well over 100,000, 200,000 people, there's going to be a lot to experience, a lot of crowds, things of that nature. But overall, it was a great experience at the Consumer Electronics Show, and I'm looking forward to next year, my friend.
Nice, man. Was there okay? So you're talking about video games there. I heard that they only unveiled like a PlayStation 5 logo. There wasn't really anything announced about it.
That was the hot rumor going in. I heard that nonstop both Sunday, Monday when I was with Jamie Monroy at PepCom, which was a pre-show event, and also as well, even on the bus going for day one at CES. Oh, they're going to show the PlayStation 5 at the Sony booth. Oh, they're going to show the PlayStation 5. Oh, they're going to show PlayStation 5. No, they didn't. All they did was, during the Sony press conference that happened in regards to all of their consumer electronics, they only showed off the logo, which had the internet buzzing, and I don't even know why it had the internet buzzing in one way or the other, whether it's a good logo or not. just says PS5, so really no big deal to me. Didn't give us any specs, any designs, any prices, or anything of that nature. That I think is coming up later in the year, of course, either in their own event or E3. So I'm looking forward to when that finally happens to see how it matches up against the Xbox Series X. But overall, it was a very positive experience at the Consumer Electronics Show, and I highly encourage people out there to listen to my upcoming interviews, not only in today's show, but our upcoming shows in the weeks to come on Mondays for the Pop Culture Cosmos and every Friday on the PCC Multiverse. So it was a great time indeed, my friend, and I can't wait to go back for next year. But before we head into my first interview with My Arcade, I want to ask you this, my friend. Did you catch wind of the latest news with Marvel, and that is Doctor Strange 2, maybe in a little bit of jeopardy as far as when it comes to shooting here in this coming May, when because it's going to be released next May in 2021, and that is the director, Scott Derrickson, has left the project due to creative differences, the good old-fashioned quote-unquote creative differences. So I ask you, my friend, there's some creative differences there between him and Disney that caused his leaving. What do you think those creative differences might have been?
I don't know. Well, it makes you wonder, like, how much control is Disney putting over their directors, right? Because Marvel used to be the place to go for, indie directors who want to put their vision into a superhero movie. So what exactly? What could it have been that made Scott Derrickson walk away? Same thing. What was it that made the guy, the original Ant-Man director walk away?
Edgar Wright,
yeah. Is it so this is new, right? This is fresh. So what is it? Are there new rules being applied to the new round of Disney movies? Are they kind of becoming more like Star Wars films where they're more regulated and things are designed to sell things instead of actually, be good story-wise, and they're not going to take chances anymore? Or is this just, was his vision so far out there that it was just time to let him go?
Thirstiest dog out there, I'm telling you. But anyways, you know what? Actually, this leads me into a question I have for you, my friend. And that is this. Back at Comic-Con, when they announced their full slate for the next couple years, Marvel indicated, well, actually, Scott himself indicated that he was going to take this movie, Doctor Strange Into the Multiverse, and love the name, by the way, but Into the Multiverse, and take it into a new direction and say that was going to be, and he actually stated, quote unquote, that it was going to be Marvel's first horror movie in the MCU. Could that have been an issue with Disney, and could that have been something that might have been the deal breaker, or the creative, or where the creative differences might have lied? Could Scott Derrickson's vision of what Doctor Strange 2 he wanted could have been different as far as maybe pushing the envelope too far on that horror aspect, maybe pushing it into an R when, obviously it being a marquee movie where it's going to be sitting at in May of 2021, it has to be more of a PG-13 movie.
Well, I don't think Doctor Strange is the right property to turn into a horror film, but that's a good point. Like, it does make you think, especially considering all the reshoots that happened with New Mutants right after the sale went through with Disney. New Mutants was allegedly a horror movie, but now, from what I'm understanding, it's intense, but it's less of a horror movie than it started out as, from what I understand from the actors and the director and things like that. So maybe it's just Disney trying to keep Marvel in like the family friendly area, because it's kind of a risky move too. I get it from their stand. Don't get me wrong, I don't like corporate control over things. And I know, especially when it comes to bigger movie properties, these studios are a little more strict with that. But I also don't think it's a great move to have a movie that started out as PG-13, Doctor Strange, because kids do like that. Kids, it was a good movie. I enjoyed it thoroughly. And it would be kind of weird to see that turn into a horror film so that kids can't enjoy it after enjoying the first one. So I don't know. I feel like if they wanted to take a chance and make something more in the horror genre, I don't think Doctor Strange is the right property to do that with. Like, they need to have something new, something that's not already connected to a younger audience.
Maybe Blade might fill that bill with Mahershala Ali.
Yeah, well, that's what we're hoping, right? Because that's the only version of Blade people really want to see. I don't think anyone really wants a comedic version of Blade unless it's like the arcs where he and Spider-Man fought each other on accident as they were both trying to chase after Morbius.
But I want to say that it wouldn't be a good move if, the movie itself, Doctor Strange 2, and push the limits to where it would be deemed an R, because that's the high profile movie right there of 2021. Okay, maybe you could say Thor Love and Thunder as well, but when you're in the May slot, you need to go and have that's your big money deal for Disney. That's the biggest release of the year, the biggest release window time of the year for them is that first week of May, last week of April type deal. And to have something like that be at risk of not being able to have families go and see that type of movie, that would be a lot of dollars that would probably be not in the best interest of Disney losing. So I agree with you, my friend. There is a big risk there, and those creative differences might have come about because of it, because Scott Derrickson wanted to go ahead and push the envelope, and maybe Disney wasn't willing to let that envelope go too far.
Yeah, and again, like I'm not a huge fan of corporate control, but I get it in this instance. This isn't like a Josh Trank in Fantastic Four situation. This is like a property that is connected to families, and maybe making it not so family friendly is not the best idea.
No, not at all. And I think right now it still stands in limbo as far as what the future holds for Doctor Strange in the what the future holds for Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. But I will tell you this, my friend, it's still on track for a May release of 2021, which means it has to start shooting right around, May of this year. So they still have plenty of time to find a director. Still about 3-4 months left to go before you go ahead and start shooting and whatnot. But I believe that they're going to go ahead and find somebody that might fit the bill well enough. The only thing is, it's still a high-profile film sitting in that May slot, so you better make sure it's someone that's going to fit the bill right and present Doctor Strange like you said, Doctor Strange was presented in a different format from the other MCU movies because of all the mind-bending effects and all that we saw in the first film. So if you want to go ahead and follow in that same movie's footsteps, you're going to have to go ahead and have a director that's going to go ahead and see that vision for what it's worth. So I'm hoping that things will come about and a good director will be hired. And a director will be hired that will go ahead and see the vision all the way through and provide us fans in a marquee spot for Disney, a movie we're seeing in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. What are your thoughts out there on the upcoming Doctor Strange 2 and the movie losing its director over creative differences with Disney? Are you surprised? Are you concerned that this movie now will end up being a very big problem for Disney down the road, for Disney and Marvel down the road? Share us your thoughts, popculturecosmos@yahoo.com. Also as well, Pop Culture Cosmos, Humanity Media, and Game Source on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram as well. Well, coming up right after the break, it's the folks from My Arcade in our first interview airing from this week's CES. They're coming on the show to talk about all the great things that are going on, including their Street Fighter 2 and Contra micro players. A lot of good things coming up for them and My Arcade, and I talk to them right after the break. This is the PCC Multiverse. We are back once again with the PCC Multiverse. It's Gerald coming right back at you, and I want to thank the folks from My Arcade for stopping by and letting me interview them at CES 2020. Before we get to our interview with Arcade 1UP, my friend, the Pokemon Direct happened this week. A lot of good news for Pokemon fans. Is it time to shine up your Pokemons and get them trained, because more Pokemons could be on the way?
This is weird. So we just recorded our, we did a little games that we played in 2019 podcast on Topicocalypse the other night, and Brian Wegner from Super BS came by, and we are chatting about Pokemon, and like he did not he liked Sword for like the first 3 hours he played it. I kind of have been forcing myself through it, and I have all the badges. I just haven't done the Pokemon League thing, but it's weird because I'm not as I love the novelty of playing it on the Switch, but I'm not as into it because it doesn't really have all it is gyms. You go from one gym to the next, catch Pokemon, do the Pokemon League, and where like Red and Blue came out, and you could do there's side quest stuff, right? You had Team Rocket and that little side story. So I feel like this Pokemon is lacking. So when I heard that they're releasing the expansion for Sword, it's called like Armor, and then the other one's called I have the title up here. The expansion passes, and one's called the Isle of Armor, the other one's called the Crown Tundra. I was kind of excited to see like what else happened, what else they're adding into it, but it sounds like it's just new areas that are opening up, if I'm reading the news correctly.
But still, that's a big win for Pokemon players. I mean, they're always looking for new places to go on. Yes, DLC, it is basically glorified DLC for Pokemon owners out there. But you know what? With the success of Pokemon, you can't fault Nintendo for going ahead and just feeding you a little bit more and a little bit more at a time.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm not opposed to going back to it. I guess it depends on how much it costs too, because like the game itself costs $60. So if you're charging $20 just to go explore a new patch of grass, it's probably not going to be worth it to me. So like it depends if it's at a $10 price point. It could be something I'm interested in. What is this? Like this is the first ever expansion for a Pokemon game, though. So I would hope that it would be something worthy of playing as opposed to just like a couple new dungeons or something. What do you think it's going to be?
I think they're going to go ahead and do something very well with it. I think they're going to go ahead and make it a large enough deal where it will be worth the Pokemon players' time and money, because they're such an ardent fan base. Pokemon players are, and I don't think they would go ahead and mess this up, at least the first time around. I liken it to what Oblivion did for the most part, outside of Horse Armor, Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion, where they not only created one but two major expansions that really enhanced the game for years to come for a lot of people. Just Knights of the Nine and Shivering Isles to this day are some of the best DLCs ever created for a game, period. And I don't, while I don't see that type of expansion, while I don't see that type of expansion for Pokemon to that extent, I still see something very much worthwhile, whether it's, allowing you to go ahead and do something different with your Pokemon, or just the variety or something else that they're going to throw in there, or just, like you said, a large, new, vast area to explore. Well, hopefully it's not just grass, like you said, but a large area to explore that'll make it worthwhile for people to go ahead and invest in. To me, I think they're not going to go ahead and, at least the first time around, screw it up. Successive DLC, that I'm not so sure about. But when it comes to the first time around, I don't think Nintendo's going to make a mistake on this first time that they're going to go ahead and do a DLC for Pokemon. Josh, did I lose you? Okay.
Oh no, we're good. Sorry, I heard like a door close over on your side, and then it froze, so I wasn't sure what happened.
Oh yeah. So I don't think they're going to I don't think they're going to blow it.
I hope not. I mean, if again, like I want a reason to like this game, because at the moment I don't. It's just something I'm kind of forcing myself through because, as we all know, I have story OCD and I have to finish things that I start. So
we'll get you the help. We'll get you the help you need someday.
Yeah, if you guys know like a hotline or something, just send us a phone number. I'd be more than happy to talk to them. But yeah, I want to like Pokemon, so I'm really hoping that like this is something that is good.
I hope so as well for you, my friend, because you are such an ardent player. We just kidded about it on your Monday show, where 18 years undefeated in Pokemon, and before you finally lost. So just, this hopefully will help generate and boost your spirits with Pokemon even more. And I know something that will, though. But I do know something that was announced that will get your that did get your attention, and that is Pokemon Home, that is coming next month, and that's going to be something where it's the ability to go ahead and trade any Pokemon from your mobile device. So I want to ask you: is this something that I think piqued your interest? I heard, just listening to your thoughts on it, I really think it did.
Here's where I stand on that. Like, I think it's a cool thing. Am I going to use it? Maybe not. It's the Pokemon. I love the idea of like a cloud server for your Pokemon. I know with Pokemon Sword and Shield, they kind of blocked off. If you're paying for that service before, you couldn't use it for this game. So I don't know. Like, I don't play it enough, and I don't like this one enough to truly like be stoked about it. But again, if the expansions are good and it really hooks me back into it, it could be something I'm interested in. But I like the idea of it. My big concern would be if I were to invest in something like this, how long is it going to be something that's versatile across every game? I guess that would be the most important thing to me.
That's true. It's got to be somewhat versatile as far as what Pokemon you can trade and back and forth and whatnot, and how you're able to access it off your mobile device. And that's going to be key as far as how the app integrates itself with Pokemon Home. But we're going to find out more answers to that question when it comes to Pokemon Home when it comes out in February. So a lot of people, especially a lot of individuals out there who have Pokemon, that they're just cannot wait to go ahead and start trading and start going ahead and having or start utilizing that Pokemon Home service very soon in the near future. And I have a feeling that once you see all the trading and people start getting really satisfied and good word of mouth happens, I have a feeling you're going to go ahead and be more positive about it and may even use the service at some point in time, especially if you get back into full hardcore Pokemon once again. So I think all the Pokemon users out there, just got a big lift from what was mentioned in this week's Pokemon Direct. Just Nintendo supporting Pokemon players. I think that's a good thing. I don't think that's a problem at all. I think in the end, it just shows Nintendo is smart about how those key IPs that they have. They go ahead and make sure that they've got fans that will always support it.
Yeah, there's always going to be a market for it. This is another podcast topic for another day. There are things I would have loved to see in Pokemon Sword. But if they're doing a good job so far bringing things into the the new gen.
I think they did not. I think they've also done a very good job as far as what they brought into this current generation, and I'm excited to see where they're going with all the stuff that they've talked about at this week's Pokemon Direct and what they've got going on in the future for Pokemon players. What are your thoughts out there on the latest Pokemon Direct, aka Nintendo Direct, focusing on Pokemon with the new DLC and Pokemon Home? Share us your thoughts with us today. popculturecosmos@yahoo.com. Also as well, Pop Culture Cosmos, Humanity Media, and Game Source on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram as well. Well, coming up right after the break, we've got a great interview from the floor once again of CES 2020. It's Arcade 1UP, and David McIntosh took a few moments of time. He was a very busy man when he was on that floor. They had a lot of great things that they just announced, including NBA Jam, a four-player Wi-Fi enabled NBA Jam. That was big news there, including they had a huge NBA Jam that you could go ahead and play that was just truly awesome to go ahead and experience. Plus, you also had a lot of other things that they mentioned, including a new Burger Time exclusive cabinet to their website, Golden Axe, a four-player Golden Axe machine, sit-down version of Star Wars. They had virtual pinball that they announced, micro machines, and so much more, micro players, and so much more. I'm going to go ahead and sit. I've got my interview coming up right after break with I got my interview right off the break with David McIntosh from Arcade One Up. He's going to go ahead and talk about what's going on with the company and the future. And we also reflect a little bit on its recent past with the company as well. This is the PCC Multiverse. And we're back with the PCC Multiverse. I want to thank David McIntosh for taking some time to speak to me today about all the great things coming up at Arcade One Up. My friend, real quickly before we head to the break, and also an interview coming up with oh, you're on.
Oh, sorry, I didn't know I wasn't muted.
So before we go ahead and head to a break and talk, before we talk to Jean-Wook Shin of a new entry into the home arcade marketplace, and that is Arcade with two eyes in front of it. I want to ask you this, my friend. 1917, expected to go ahead and do very well at the box office this weekend in its first weekend in full release. It won the Golden Globes for Best Drama. What are your thoughts on 1917 and how well it could be? Will it get that Golden Globes and possibly even Oscar buzz boost?
It already got the Golden Globes, right? It won. Sam Mendes won some the other night. Yeah, I hope so. Honestly, of all the Golden Globe films, it's one of the few I actually want to watch. I did see Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and that was cool. But yeah, this is something I want to see. I know my dad wants to see it. My brother wants to see it. So we might all go watch it, next week or the following week. But I love, war films. And it's something that you don't get a lot of, especially World War I. Like, they don't make films like that. They or at least not anymore, it seems like. So yes, I'm incredibly excited about it. And I would hope, especially with the editing style, that it is something that would pique people's interest. And, from what I understand, like these two kids that are in this movie, they're relatively new to Hollywood. And just from all the buzz that the film's getting so far, it sounds like it's fantastic.
It does sound like it is a really big hit. It does sound like it's going to be really successful for the movie companies that are out there. It does look like it's really going to be a big hit at the box office. It does really look like it's going to do well at the box office. It's going to get that nice Golden Globe bump. And you know what? If it's around long enough, which it should be for when the Oscars come out, and if it does get the Best Picture at the Oscars, it's probably going to get it's probably going to get a bump then too, just shortly thereafter. It's projected to do right around $30 million this weekend at the box office domestically, and the fact that it's probably going to upend Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker as that movie continues its decline. Although by the end of the weekend, it will probably hit $1 billion worldwide at the box office. So don't feel sorry for Star Wars. Plus, you also have Jumanji. The Next Level. That could also play into the fray as well. Like a Boss is debuting, but that's not as highly regarded, so that probably do somewhere in the teens domestically. Little Women, that's continuing on. It's getting a lot of acclaim, and that's going to probably do very well still and probably have a nice hold at the box office. Then you have Frozen 2, Knives Out. Those two movies are going to have a nice hold as well because they're getting a lot of good word. Underwater is a movie, unfortunately, that with Kristen Stewart that got very little buzz. It's gotten not very good reviews. I only was made aware of it within the past 2 weeks. So really, with that kind of lack of buzz, I don't think it's going to do very well at the box office worldwide or domestically. Just Mercy is also being expanded to in theaters. I think that movie does show a lot of promise. So I'm interested to see where that falls. That one's expected to do right around $10 million this weekend at the box office. So overall, it's going to be a decent weekend at the box office. I just want to ask you this when we go before we head on out. When it comes to 1917, do you think this is going to be a trend that we're going to go back into World War I instead of romanticizing always about what happened in World War II? From a Hollywood standpoint, I should say.
I feel like World War I is kind of an untapped, not that it should be exploited, but it's kind of an untapped storytelling avenue for Hollywood. We've seen a lot of World War II films. Saving Private Ryan, or even shows, Band of Brothers of the Pacific, but we haven't seen a lot of World War One films. And if we see it, if Peter Jackson's documentary taught us anything with they shall not grow old. Like, this is a very, very tragic time. Like, it was one of the most bloodiest periods for England. So I mean, it would make sense that they would show that people would be interested in diving into that. Like, what are their stories? It seems like there's a lot of good, not good, but I mean, a lot of stories people could tell in history that could be, revealed to people, maybe reinvigorate an interest in that genre of film.
Let's hope that's the case, and it'll lead to a lot of more interesting stories for that time period. It'd be great to see. I'm hoping for success for it as well, because it looks like it's going to be a quality picture that, with the right amount of buzz, could do very well at the box office. Not only this weekend, but if it garners even more Oscar glory, maybe at some point in time in the spring here, it could do well. It could do pretty good then. It can get a nice bump then as well. What are your thoughts out there on 1917? Let us know. popculturecosmos@yahoo.com. Coming up next, it's our interview from CES 2020 with the folks at Arcade. That's IIRCADE, talking about their home arcade unit. Talking about their home arcade unit, and why you might want to, and what's different about this entry into the home arcade marketplace. This is the PCC Multiverse. And we're back to close out the shows, the PCC Multiverse. I want to thank so much the folks from Arcade. That's IIRCADE. The folks at Arcade One. David and the folks at David and the great folks at Arcade One Up, and also the great support I got at My Arcade. If you have any questions about what went on at CES, please send it to us, popculturecosmos@yahoo.com. Or if you can, leave us that 5-star review on iTunes. We truly appreciate it. It helps us get more visibility out there for pop culture fans like you out there listening to the show. So we truly appreciate any 5-star reviews that we get. Before we head on out, my friend, did you catch the Birds of Prey 2 trailer? Seemed to be the end of Joker, or was it when you watched that trailer?
I don't think so. I think that Jared Leto's Joker will be back in some form. This is it just depends on when the time's right to do that, especially with Joaquin getting all the buzz he's getting right now. Yes, I did see the trailer. Really enjoyed the trailer. I love Black Canary's in there and Huntress is in there. Like, it's a take on character. Like, and it's I love that these characters, like, they wouldn't get a big screen appearance, in any other way. So I love that this is happening. I think Harley Quinn's a great character. I think that she is amazing on her own. I don't think she needs Joker to really stand out. And I'm truly excited about this film. Like, this looks like the Suicide Squad that I wanted to see in the first place.
It does look promising. I like the fact that they teased that with the possible death of the Joker at the hands of Harley Quinn, in the way that they broke up as a relationship. My gosh, that's a brutal way to break up, but that's a different matter. But yes, since Joker was not actually on screen in the trailer, I don't think that Jared Leto's Joker, or the Joker in this case, so whoever may play it down the road, if Jared Leto doesn't, I don't think that's the end of that Joker. That's too much. That would be too much to risk right there. I don't see that happening. But overall, the trailer was good. I am actually excited for Ian McGregor as Black Mask. I really want to go ahead and see what he has to offer in that role of the villain. Well, okay, of the more villain of the villains involved in the picture. So I definitely want to see what he has to offer in that role. And then, of course, at the end, she has the hyena, and she names it Bruce after Bruce Wayne. So you got to go ahead and name drop Batman at some point in time in there. So that's, of course, seems to be a natural. So you've got all those things that are tying into each other. And we talked about this before, my friend, when it comes to the DC universe. We thought it wasn't going to tie in all these things together. They thought that we were going to be these separate entities and whatnot. But with these little subtle hints, these little subtle things that they suggest, maybe they aren't going to be so separate after all.
Well, here's a weird thing for me too, is the fact that they keep saying we're going to make all these standalone films. Joker's the only one we've seen so far, but all the movies that they're making are still tied into the existing films. So there's nothing that's really standing alone. Yeah, their stories exist on their own. They're not like leading towards some big old team up or gathering of DC properties, but they all are existing in the same realm of films that's already there because they all have bits and pieces from those films in them.
But it does look interesting, and it's it's almost that time for the movie to come out because it will be coming out in the month of February. So it is Birds of Prey 2 with Margot Robbie, Ian McGregor. It looks like something that a lot of people are going to be very interested in. Josh and I are interested in it, and I'm looking forward to it when it comes out in February 7th. Right around the corner next month to theaters. What are your thoughts out there on the latest trailer? On the latest trailer for Birds of Prey. Share us your thoughts. PopCultureCosmos@yahoo.com. Also as well, Pop Culture Cosmos, Humanity Media, and Game Source on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram as well. Well, my friend, it's been a great episode. Cannot thank you enough for being a part of it, and all the great people from CES that were part of it as well. Tune in next week. We've got a lot of great things to cover when it comes to the world of pop culture, plus even more CES interviews. You and I said we would go ahead and finish off the decade with our movies of the decade next week. Plus, when I talk about my interviews from CES, we briefly covered, with Arcade 1-Up, we covered their end of the story when it comes to virtual pinball. On Monday's episode of the Pop Culture Cosmos, we're going to cover even more when it comes to virtual pinball with not one, not two, but three companies out there vying for the title of Virtual Pinball King as well, with Stern, Toy Shock, and Ace Computers on the way for Monday's episode. So, any last thoughts on the way out?
No, I mean, I'm excited to hear all your CES interviews. I haven't really gotten a chance to kind of tune in and see what's coming out this year. So I'm excited to hear more about that. And I'd love to just chat with you about it on one of the upcoming episodes.
Absolutely looking forward to as well. I got 20 interviews from CES. Definitely appreciated everyone taking the time and doing so. I'm looking forward to, I got close to 20 interviews. So I'm looking forward to go ahead and playing them on our upcoming shows on the Pop Culture Cosmos on Mondays and the PCC Multiverse on Fridays coming up this month. So for Josh Peterson, this is Gerald Glassford. It's another beautiful day in paradise right here in the PCC Multiverse. We thank you for listening. And here's hoping you have yourself a great day.